Every Boise suburb. Let's look at everything you would need to know and everything you want to avoid in each and every city in the Boise area, including Boise itself. This is your ultimate guide to choosing and understanding Boise, Idaho. Living in Star, Idaho. We're gonna see if Star will work for you. Taking a look at the location and commutes, a quick idea of the schools here, what's going to be new in 2024, some of the problems you will run into here, including some that continue to get worse, and of course, look at some homes, including one for under $400,000. Star used to be a very small town with almost no grocery stores or streetlights. When I was a kid, my grandparents moved out to Star, and I remember how small it used to be. The best place, it was really the only place to eat, was Pizza Hut, and if I went to the grocery store with my grandparents, it was the Star Merc. That was the only option, which is still there to this day. And today Star is not nearly as small. It has gained 2 new grocery stores, Ridley's in the eastern part of town, directly connected with Heron River Ranch, which I will talk about towards the end. There's a brand new Albertsons in the west side of Star, and if you want to count Bi-Mart, that would technically be a 3rd grocery store. Now, it is important to note that Albertsons is one of the most expensive grocery stores here in the valley, and thankfully you have Ridley's that is surprisingly affordable. The problem you run into is the lack of options. I live in Kuna it has the same grocery store options, and we often have to run into Winco, Costco, or Fred Meyer to get our grocery list fully checked off. The same is true in Star, and the nearest Costco, Winco, and Fred Meyer's are going to be in North Meridian, which is about a 15-minute drive depending on traffic and time of day. This is a common occurrence in Star, having to drive, and one of the many problems that we will talk about. Another clear memory I have from when I was a kid was the long drives out to Star. I loved seeing my grandparents, but I would always complain about the drive, and that has not changed. It has actually gotten worse with the fast growth of Star. It has clogged up a lot of the streets, creating a lot more traffic, especially around Highway 55 that comes into Star from Eagle and Boise. This is a route that a ton of people take to and from work. And on top of that, there is construction that slows things down even more. You especially get construction taking Star Road into Meridian. This used to be a 2-lane road with only stop signs, and because of the growth, they're constantly trying to expand and rebuild Star Road and all of the roads that connect to it, really jamming things up, which if you move to Star can definitely turn into a headache, a lot of that traffic and a lot of those commutes. Today it is almost unrecognizable with how much it has grown, but Star hasn't lost that small town root. When you drive around, you will see more American flags than other parts of the valley. There is first responder flags and a very conservative belief and feel that a lot of you I know are moving here for that exact reason. And for many of you, it is a part of that appeal of Star or some of the smaller town suburbs here. We have people tell us that all of the time, which if you haven't met me yet, my name is Brady Fagel, and I am a real estate agent here in the valley. I'm a Boise local, so I have a unique perspective on Boise. My goal is to help give you all of the information, good or bad, to help you relocate here and determine if Boise will truly be a good fit for you. So shoot me a text or a call anytime. I look forward to speaking with you and making this process exciting and honest. But like I said, we get people who reach out, and the beliefs in politics is an important part of why they are moving here, which I am sure for many of you, it is the same. And why Star is even more appealing, especially as Boise and Eagle have become more liberal. It isn't uncommon for people to visit Boise and see pride flags and rallies and feel like they're about to just move to a place they were trying to escape from in the first place. And after talking with them, places like Star come up and they realize Star is more what they were hoping for, that smaller town, conservative, down-to-earth environment. It is very attractive to people, playing a huge part in why Star continues to grow as fast as it does. Other than the growth in population and the hundreds of new homes being built out here, it is bringing some new shops and amenities. In 2024, there will be a new US bank, which may seem silly, but not having to drive into Meridian if you bank there is a little bonus. There's going to be a new Mod Pizza, Jersey Mike's, an Epic Shine car wash, and then a Jackson's gas station will all be here in 2024, which the Jacksons will be a big improvement because right now there is only one gas station as you enter into town, and it can get crowded and actually back up traffic. If you like coffee, there's a new Starbucks, and a Dutch Bros will be coming as well, which Dutch Bros is one of the most popular places here in the Valley by far. Their customer service is top notch, and you can end up leaving feeling better about your day when you go to Dutch Bros. There are a number of other small shops and stores coming, but the most important is a new elementary school being built. Star currently has one elementary school and one middle school, which has caused a ton of overcrowding and concerns for those of you with kids. And only having two schools was a major con of choosing Star. So hopefully the new elementary school can bring some relief to that overcrowding and make it a little bit more desirable of a place to live for those of you who have kids. Another thing that has been a con with Star is the commutes, which we touched on some of the traffic and construction earlier, and I don't see that getting better really anytime soon, but the commutes from Star into Boise and the main shopping centers and the medical care deter a lot of people from moving here. If you work in Boise, or plan on driving into downtown for events or dinners or your things on the weekends, plan on 30 to 45 minute drives on average. If you only want to get into Meridian or the Village and all of the things to do along Eagle Road and in Meridian, plan on 20 to 30 minute drives depending on traffic. If you want land, which we will take a look at some homes here with land in just a second, your drives get significantly longer because you will most likely be living in the foothills of Star that are just outside of Star city limits and where most of the homes on land are. The only other real negative is your access to medical care. The nearest hospitals are in Nampa, which is a 20-minute drive, and then some smaller clinics in Eagle at around 15 minutes. Now, we talked about the traffic, schools, commutes, and medical care, which are definitely things to think about before moving here. And shifting to some of the best parts of Star, the number one thing is probably the Boise River and the outdoor activities here. The Boise River runs right through Star. You have the River Walk Park, which gives you access to Star's own little green belt. There's a rope swing there to hang out in the summertime, and it makes a great spot to hang out with the family for Boise's really hot summers. If you hang out here, you will also notice a lot of ponds. Star has created a number of fishing ponds throughout town, and most of them hold largemouth bass, and then some have trout as well, I believe. I haven't fished there in a while though, so I'm not completely sure on that. It's just another little bonus of living in Star, especially if you have kids or you want to get out and just fish for a few hours. Now, the land I talked about earlier brings a ton of other outdoor activities as well. You have thousands of acres of BLM land. So if you want to get out, ride bikes, shoot guns, take the ATVs for a ride, you have a ton of BLM land to do that. Now, I promised we would take a look at some homes. So let's start with a more affordable option. This is a brand new build just north of the main part of town. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, a very typical home you will see all over the valley. Now, if a 1,500 square foot home for $385,000 doesn't seem affordable to you, like I said it was, that would be correct. The whole Treasure Valley has gotten much less affordable over the years with all of the growth, but there is a more specific reason Star is less affordable than some of the other suburbs, And I will talk about that here in a second. But before that, let's take a look at a home on some land out here, as promised. This is a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom home on 1 acre out in the foothills of Star, which is where most of your homes on land out here will be. Like I told you earlier, this adds around 10 to 15 minutes to your commute. And that is because most of these homes in the foothills are outside of town, a ways. You do get the beautiful views in the foothills, but you sacrifice those commute times. Now, most of the homes on acreage here in the valley are going to be around that $900,000 to $1 million mark. Star is on the more expensive end, and a big reason for that specific reason that Star is more expensive is because of Eagle, Idaho. Eagle's prestige and its appeal raises the home prices of Star. Emmett is a town of only 7,800 people with 1 main road, a grocery store, a river, 1 great burger place, a few problems with the schools and infrastructure, and a questionable beauty. So why are people choosing to live here over big and beautiful Boise, Idaho? Well, it isn't just because of the small town charm and the pros of Emmett as much as it might be about the cons of living in Boise. Emmett is about a 45 to 60 minute drive into Boise. You have 1 road that takes you over the hill from the valley of Emmett to the Treasure Valley. Emmett being a small town, you have 2 grocery stores, an Albertsons and a Bi-Mart, but Bi-Mart is more of a convenience store, and Albertson is the most expensive grocery store in the valley, other than like the bougie Whole Foods in downtown Boise. If you want to visit your local Costco, it will take you about 25 to 30 minutes. And if you load up and rack up on that $500 to $600 Costco bill, you only have to make the drive about every 2 to 4 weeks.
Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco.
So definitely lacking a little bit there in the grocery store options. There's a small downtown area with a few shops, and you do get some food options with McDonald's, Taco Bell, Idaho Pizza, a range of Emmett local restaurants, and then probably the most popular, which is Rowan Drive-In, which is an old classic burger stop. So many would say there is a lack of shops and restaurants and not too many options for schooling. Plus, a big complaint is the school buildings are out of date. They're really old, almost 100 years old, and they're underfunded, with the same being true for the roads and the overall infrastructure in Emmett.
Oh man, swerve them potholes.
But let's stop being so negative and kind of switch to more of the pros of living in Emmett. Now, the positives of Emmett are, of course, the friendly small town feel, and I promise we'll get into the main reasons a lot of people are deciding to move here in a second. If you are into the outdoors, Black Canyon Reservoir is a popular place to boat and hang out in the summers or get out and fish. The Payette River flows out of the reservoir and runs right through the entire valley. Plus, you do get some nice mountain views no matter where you are in Emmett. This is a big plus, especially if you love the outdoors and the ability to live in a more wild place. You really can get out into nature and feel like you are in a rural, small town Idaho, which comes with places like the cherry and apple orchards. I remember as a kid, my grandfather taking me out here and paying the $5 to go fill a bucket of apples or cherries, and then in the summer going to the Cherry Festival, which is a no cost to enter, free daily entertainment and nightly concerts. There's a parade and children's parade. There's free entry into all of the contests and concerts, and around 50,000 people show up in this popular small town event that has been going on for a very, very long time. As a kid, I used to stop by some of the canals also in Emmett as well and go cliff jumping, especially in high school. There's some really fun cliff jumping spots there. Or on the way home in the evenings, I would go with my grandpa and we would check out Firebird Raceway, which has some awesome drag racing events. Plus, there are big plans already being built out to connect a new highway that directly connects Emmett to I-84, which some of those commutes we talked about earlier, especially when you work in the Boise area and you have a 45 or 60-minute commute, this new highway should be able to help cut down on some of that travel time and really give you a more direct route into the Boise Valley, because If you live in Emmett and you work in Boise, it can get draining, and it has been a reason people have moved to Emmett and then decided to go back to Boise. But
they say driving tired is more dangerous than driving.
But a major reason for Emmett's growth is the higher cost of homes and living in Boise, as well as the overcrowding that people have felt in the valley. Boise's north end, we will be taking a look at really one of the most desired parts of Boise. I will walk you through the homes, the schools, and stay until the end where you will get some of the key factors that really are a make or break on if the north end will work for you. So the north end, this is one of the most desirable locations in Boise, but it really is only that way for a select few people. I kind of look at the north end as upscale, high class, and if you're looking at moving to Boise, I would definitely determine if you are that type of person that fits into the north end, which of course we are going to help you figure out. If I had to stereotype it, I would say lawyers, government workers, doctors, kind of high class people with that old school traditional money are the stereotypical person.
Wow, this place is really fancy.
In parts of the north end. There is a section that isn't going to be that way, and I'll talk about that area as we go through the north end. So it is connected to downtown and it bleeds into the foothills, which makes for amazing views and some awesome neighborhoods. The homes in the foothills are going to be your more expensive $1 million plus homes with pools and multi-level properties where your backyard will hang off the foothills and give you a great view of downtown or some of the creeks and hiking trails that we'll talk about here in a sec. You have steep drives into a lot of the subdivisions, which in the winter can be a little scary if you're not used to the icy roads. The landscaping here is beautiful, and through some of these videos you'll see kind of what I mean when I say it has that high class style. You have great access to all of the hiking and biking trails in the foothills. Places like Camel's Back Park and Table Rock and all of the miles of hiking trails all around the foothills here. Now, the homes and style of living are going to be a little bit different than the sections directly connected to downtown and kind of what I call the flat section of the north end. If you live in the foothills of the north end, you will most likely still be driving to work or driving your kids to school. You live in a more traditional neighborhood with the much larger homes and the bigger lot sizes with yards. Whereas the flat section of the north end is more for those of you who want walkability, the option to never have to drive your car. You can walk to lunch, work, and all of your hiking trails. Lots of people here walk and bike pretty much everywhere they go.
Why are you walking everywhere? Just get a horse.
When I have people reach out who want that walkability in Boise, this is one of the first places I have them look at. And let's continue to look at the north end so you can see if it will fit your style of living or not. The section connected to downtown is home to Hyde Park as well, which was named one of the friendliest neighborhoods in the entire country. This is true no matter where you live in the valley, but Hyde Park and the North End do offer a unique style of living you really can't get anywhere else in the valley. The walkability and the style of living creates a unique community, and you combine that with Boise's friendly people, it does make it a great place to live. Hyde Park is a section of the North End that has its own little downtown. There are coffee shops, restaurants, and some boutiques that make it a great little area for everyone in the North End to hang out and kind of build that smaller section of the Boise community. I hear all the time from people who visit Hyde Park in the North End how friendly and welcoming they feel there.
Why are you being so nice to me?
The downside is the prices of homes. You pay for what you get here, and some of it is one of the most expensive parts of Boise. Most of the homes here will be built in 1910 to 1920, and you'll be paying around $850,000 for a 3-bed, 4-bath. They have been updated, but this is a historic district, and you won't find many brand new builds or new homes here. And for reference, you can get a $850,000 home in Kuna, kind of like this, with similar bedrooms, more square footage, with a yard and 3-car garage. It's a completely different feel and price than in the North End. Now, Hyde Park and downtown Boise will give you a ton of walking access to restaurants and shops. You not only have access to the hiking trails in the foothills, but you are still very close to the Boise River, the Greenbelt. There is Quinn's Pond and Simplot's Esther Park. That gets super popular in the summers. And then, of course, you have everything that the Greenbelt offers as well. When it comes to grocery shopping, you have a Boise Co-op and an Albertsons right in the North End, giving you pretty quick access and the ability to walk or bike for that grocery shopping as well. The larger stores like Trader Joe's, Winco, Whole Foods are all downtown Boise. It is possible to bike to them, and some people do, but the North End is probably just a little bit out of reach for that to be a weekly thing. So when it comes to grocery shoppings, you may want to hop in that car every couple of weeks for your major grocery shopping. We'll go over the schools quickly, and then I'll talk about the major thing in the North End that really can deter people from moving here. Starting with Boise High School, this is ranked number 3 in the state, and the Boise School District as a whole is known for its education. Both the elementary schools and middle schools are top ranked in the state as well. You have Collister Elementary, that's number 10. North Junior High is ranked number 11th in the state. So if you have kids here, the schools in the North End are definitely a big plus. Now, the North End has that high class city feel. You have the amazing canopy of trees and the walkability, but as Boise has grown, it has changed, and this change is a key factor in why I think a lot of people end up not choosing the North End. A lot of people notice the change in politics. If you drive down Harrison Boulevard, which is a popular street in the North End, or really any of the streets in the North End, you might notice pride flags on houses or in some of the businesses here. Depending on when you visit, it might be during a rally or any number of events. I say this because there are people who visit and are surprised at what they see because they don't fit into the political beliefs, or they feel like Boise might be just like where they came from, like California or Oregon or wherever they're coming from. Where is the best part of Boise, Idaho? A lot will say the North End or the east side of Boise, but I think the most popular and best for most people like you is Southeast Boise. Affordable home options, close to amenities, plenty of options for activities, and it is a very specific feel and style that I personally like, and I know a lot of other people do as well. Let's take a look at Southeast Boise's layout and activities. Southeast Boise is, well, southeast of Boise, but it is tucked up against the Boise River, sage flatlands, the foothills, and really can feel like it's its own little town outside of the big city. Due to city regulations, they cannot develop any new homes or commercial properties east of town, so you get untouched foothills, cliffs, and landscapes all around you, which makes for not only great views and outdoorsy feel, but gives you tons of options for outdoor activities, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, it feels smaller and more isolated, but is still connected to downtown Boise and the main city center. So you have a quick 10 to 15 minute drive into the city center for all of your major events or restaurants you want to go to. Subdivisions like Columbia Village are the most isolated, backing up to the foothills and that eastern side that I said isn't developed. It is also surrounded by Simplot Sports Complex, which on the weekends can be annoying dealing with some of the traffic from all of the soccer tournaments, but during the week is a big benefit to have, especially if you want to go hang out at a park, get some sun, spend some time outside. That isolated and small town feel is part of the charm of Southeast Boise. You don't feel as rushed, crowded, or surrounded. You feel like you're in a mountain town next to the big city. And I may be exaggerating a little bit, but when you're comparing it to Boise itself, even the bench, and especially West Boise or even Meridian, it really does kind of have that little bit of an isolated feel. Another part of the feel is all of the soccer moms. This area is definitely for all of you soccer moms out there. It's very family friendly, plenty of walking paths and trails to walk the kiddos, which in all seriousness just means this place is super family friendly and great for raising kids. Columbia Village and another one of these subdivisions we will look at later are popular destinations, especially for those of you relocating here for Micron and those to come when the multi-billion-dollar addition gets added to the Micron facility, which if you're moving here for work and one of you is working at Micron, definitely check out this video here. It may help your significant other narrow down their search. We'll take a look at some of the other popular neighborhoods later, but first let's take a look at some more of the amenities in Southeast Boise. You're gonna have two Albertsons, the more expensive, finally, grocery store in the valley, but you can drink while you shop. So I know a lot of husbands won't mind picking up some of the shopping. I've seen that happen. There's one Fred Meyer, cheaper version of Albertsons with some great options for health foods as well. Everything else will be in the main part of Boise or a little bit further away. You have Costco on Overland Road, about a 10-minute drive. Then Trader Joe's, Winco, and Whole Foods, which will be downtown Boise, which is about 10 minutes. The Boise River runs right through this part of town, so no matter where you live, it is a 5 to 10 minute drive or even a walk away from your house. And anytime you drive anywhere, you get beautiful views of the river along the foothills. Other than all of the hiking trails near downtown, which I talk about in a lot of the other Boise videos, you have the Oregon Trail system right at the base of the mountains, just past Columbia Village. And if you like to bike, it is popular to bike further and make your way up to Lucky Peak. So if you have a road bike, I know a ton of people that love living in Southeast Boise because you can take your road bike and go all the way up to Lucky Peak or even farther and really get that 50 or 100 mile day trips in. So you don't have a shortage of outdoor options real close by in Southeast Boise. Now, if you want to learn more specifics on some of these outdoor activities or the subdivisions and amenities to come, don't hesitate to reach out. I am a Boise local for my entire life and love helping people truly learn about the Boise area so you can relocate here and feel confident or find out if Boise is even truly for you, because sometimes it just isn't. So my number's up on the screen. Shoot me a text or a call anytime. Me and my team, we love to help you guys relocate here.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Now, Southeast Boise also has its own little shopping and restaurant center. You have Bone Crossing and its own mini downtown center, which has its own neighborhood as well that we'll take a look at in a second. But Bowen has 5 or 6 different restaurant options and is right on the river, which makes for a great place to walk the greenbelt and grab some dinner and a drink in the evening when it warms up in the spring and summer. For everything else that Boise has to offer, you are still only 10 to 15 minutes away, like I have said. And you can check out a number of the other videos on Boise to see all of those amenities that downtown Boise and the Bench and West Boise have to offer. Now, Bone Crossing. This is located right next to the restaurants we just saw and runs right along the Boise River and the Greenbelt. You have a little more upscale homes, especially when comparing it to older Columbia Village. Your average home in here will be around that $800,000 mark, but you get what you pay for. You are right on the river, next to the foothills, in an amazing community. Elevation Ridge. If you want to be a little higher up and have a little better view while paying a little less, there's Elevation Ridge. This is a smaller community with only about 30 homes, but gives you great quality homes right on the edge of town, overlooking Simplot Field and all of Boise. If Columbia Village homes are too much of a starter home and you are looking at your forever home or your second or third, these could be just right for you with that little bit of a step up, a little bit bigger, and really an amazing location and view. Surprise Valley. Surprise Valley is another great community tucked up against the black cliffs that run through Boise and makes for a unique view. These are another group of homes in that $800,000 range, and they give you all the same amenities as the others, just with a little bit different style of home and a little bit different view. Now, there are plenty of home options in Southeast Boise, lots of great amenities. One concern is that the airport is not too far and just across the interstate, which does cause some noise, but from a lot of people I talk to, it's not a huge problem and you don't have the noise as loud or as often as you might think. Eagle, Idaho, the Beverly Hills of Boise, Idaho. Not really, but it is one of the nicer parts of the Boise area. You have waterfront properties, nice amenities, it's really safe living, and some beautiful homes up against the foothills of the Treasure Valley. I would say it has a large appeal to a more specific type of person, so it just comes down to, are you that type of person? Today we're gonna go find out just that. We will learn everything about Eagle, the location, the amenities, schools, safety, the things to do, the housing, and everything that there is to offer, so you can decide if it will be where you end up living when moving to Boise. First up is just a quick overview of the location of Eagle. So Eagle is north in the valley, just above Meridian, and it's kind of tucked up against the foothills. It's right along the Boise River. Your commutes are going to be about 5 to 10 minutes into Meridian, 10 to 20 into Boise, 10 to 20 into Star, 20 to 30 to the interstate, and then 15 to Costco in Meridian and 15 to the Village in Meridian. You have quicker access to McCall and Cascade from Eagle because you're right there up against the highway, so you can just jump up and run up north into the mountains, where you can go whitewater rafting, or just to get into the mountains, go see some of the hot springs that are offered up near Cascade if you like to hunt or fish, or you just want to camp. It is nice having that quick access up north into McCall and Cascade. Now, first off, let's just start with the schools and the safety in Eagle. So the schools are good in the Eagle area. You have Eagle Middle School, which is one of the top rated middle schools in the entire state. And if you want to learn more about some of the schools on the Treasure Valley, I do have a video on all of the top schools and things you need to know if you are moving here. So go ahead and check that out. But in Eagle, there is not a ton of options, with Eagle just being a smaller city of about 35-ish thousand people. So you don't have a ton of options to choose from, but it is nice because the small options you do have are a lot better of schools. You have Eagle Elementary School of the Arts as one of the top elementary schools in the state. Eagle High and Middle School, like I said, the middle school is one of the top ranked. Eagle High School was one of my rival high schools. I went to Rocky Mountain High School, so stay away from Eagle High School when it comes to sports and athletics. I know that in high school we definitely had our battles there, but it does have good academics and college prep at the high school there, so
even I have to admit that
you do have some good sports options, all rivalries aside. And if you have kids who are in sports, or academics is more of your thing, or you want your kids to be prepared for college, Eagle High School does offer all of those, and it is some of the higher rated in the valley. You also have Innovate Academy, which is one of my favorite private schools in the valley. It is a private school that was started to teach kids business and real life skills.
But you're a businessman, I'm a businessman.
So you have things where you buy your desk, or you can rent your desk, or you can buy other desks and then rent those to the other students, and you have real money at the school that you use on a day-to-day basis. So kind of a cool strategy there at that private school. The other thing is the safety of Eagle. Eagle is one of the safest cities in the entire valley and probably the entire state. And as a whole, I have never felt unsafe here. And then on top of that, Eagle is even safer. So Meridian, Boise, Star, Kuna, all of those places, I've felt safe my entire life, and most people that live here can say the same. And so on top of that, Eagle is the safest of the safe, which is a huge pro of living there. One of the good examples is in Eagle, if you leave your garage door open, or your car's unlocked, or you leave it out on the street for a few days or a week while you go out of town, you are never really anxious in Eagle. You're not worried about it. And let me know in the comments if wherever you live, if you can say the same, if you feel safe leaving your car unlocked in the street, or if you left your garage open, that you wouldn't have to worry. Because in Eagle, if you leave your garage open, you'll have neighbors come by, just let you know, they'll knock on your door, and you never really have to worry. And that kind of rings true in other cities in the valley, but in Eagle, it's especially true. The people in Eagle are also great. Like I said, it is the Beverly Hills of Boise, and even though there is higher income homes and just overall income for households, the people are mostly great. It's an amazing city, really nice, kind, welcoming community that you have there, and that rings true through the entire valley. But just in Eagle, it is a little bit higher end. You're gonna have people who are a little bit wealthier. Some of the places may be a little bit more expensive.
Tell her I'm rich, and I'm good looking, and
So it is something that you do want to know about, and that it does and can take a particular type of person to make Eagle really feel like home. Now, the amenities. So the amenities in Eagle, like I said, Eagle is a lot smaller than the other cities in the valley, but you do have places like Boise. There's golf courses in Eagle. You have Crave, which is one of my personal favorite restaurants right off of Eagle Road. They have an amazing pork entree there that you definitely should check out. You have some of the bike parks and some of the outdoor things that I'll go over a little bit later. You have Albertsons that's right in town. It's right next to downtown Eagle. And then you have Winco, which is off of State Street. But as a whole, there is options, but there's just not going to be as many restaurants and shopping centers like you have in Meridian. A lot of those is you're going to have to commute into Meridian or Boise if you want to get all of the things that the Treasure Valley has to offer. But with the Village, you're not too far, or downtown Boise, it is like a 15-ish, 25-minute, if the traffic's bad, drive. So if you do want to go to the Village or downtown Boise, or you want to go to a football game, a hockey game, a concert, you don't have to commute that far. But you're not going to have Topgolf in Meridian, which is about 25 to 30 minutes, the BSU Stadium, or the concerts and games, or the Idaho Center, which is in Nampa. All of that can be about 25, even 40 minutes if you drive to the Idaho Center for some of the concerts or comedians or speakers. But in Eagle itself, you have the Eagle Bike Park.
You got like 3 feet of air that time.
Which is a really cool bike park if you have kids or you like to mountain bike, and it has some jumps out there, some trails. You have Eagle Fun Days, which is a parade. There's events, there's vendors and shops, and it's a weekend-long thing that the Eagle City puts on. You also have Saturday markets in Eagle, which is nice. So you can go down to the market on Saturday morning and buy some groceries or produce, or some of those small mom and pop shops that have things at the Saturday market. In the summer, there's also concerts at some of the parks. And then, of course, you have the Boise River and Eagle Island State Park. So the Boise River runs right through Eagle, and you have a lot of greenbelt to ride your bike or go on walks with the family. And then you also have Eagle Island, which has a swimming area in the lake there. It has walking trails. You can bring your horses there. And it just gives you a lot of options, whether you like to fish or hike or bike. You have all of that, and the beauty of the outdoors and the river and the trees all through Eagle. And like I mentioned, there's golf courses. So there's actually 4 golf courses. There's one farther out in the foothills. There's some right in town and in 2 of the neighborhoods. So if you're a golfer and you love to golf, unlike me, I'm not as good at golf and it drives me crazy. You can be close to those golf courses. You can live right on them, like in Banbury, and you're not too far from the ones that are just outside of town along the foothills. Now, housing. I'm going to start off with luxury, and I'm going to make it a little fun and put up 3 different drone shots of 3 different luxury style neighborhoods in Eagle. And after watching this, comment your favorite neighborhood that I put up, either A, B, or C. Now, after watching those drone shots, let's just dive into a little bit of the different parts of Eagle, starting off with South Eagle. So you have South Eagle, which is kind of right off of Eagle Road, right up against Meridian. And a lot of these neighborhoods are going to have ponds. And I used to fish these in high school, but if you don't live in those, people definitely get upset. They like their ponds and their fishing, so you can have cops called on you or people are going to come out and yell at you. River's Edge, Williamson River Ranch, which I have a video on that if you want to check Williamson River Ranch out. And then a lot of the neighborhoods right there off of Eagle Road, right before you get into downtown Eagle, they all have ponds. A lot of them have waterfront properties. And Banbury, like I mentioned, is right on the golf course and you're up against the Boise River. So some really great neighborhoods there for you to live, and definitely one of the most popular destinations in Eagle because you are right up against Meridian and you have all of those amenities that I just mentioned. So Legacy is another one that this is a little bit outside of Eagle. It's just west of downtown, and Legacy and Homestead are two that have waterfront properties. They're newer communities, newer developments that have a lot of options. And Legacy is awesome because it has really luxury homes, and then it has townhomes, which I'll talk a little bit about later. In a lot of these neighborhoods, it is nice having those ponds and lakes in the neighborhood. In high school, I used to go to friends' houses that lived in these neighborhoods, and you can kayak, you can sit on the sandy beach, you can take a boat out or a kayak out and go fishing on some of these lakes. And all of these neighborhoods that I'm talking about, they're all gonna have walking paths.
That day, for no particular reason, I decided to go for a little run.
So even if you're not along the Boise River, you have the walking paths to just walk around in your neighborhood with your family and your kids, and they just have awesome amenities. Now, some of the more regular homes, not as luxury, you have condos in parts of Eagle and condos on lakes as well. You have townhomes along the Boise River and around downtown Eagle. Now, as I mentioned in Legacy, the other nice thing is that with Legacy, you do have townhome options and smaller first-time home options, not just the luxury homes. So you have homes from $400,000 all the way up to $2.5 million, which is nice because you can spend less on a townhome in Legacy, but get kind of that luxury development feel where you still have the golf course and the ponds and the walking areas, which is a big benefit. And then you also have older neighborhoods around the golf course just north of downtown Eagle. And it gives you some better options if you don't want to go luxury or if you want to save a little bit of money and not spend the $100,000 extra that it does to live in Eagle. If you're willing to spend that, but you can't quite afford some of these luxury neighborhoods, you can look at some of these townhomes in these older neighborhoods, and it gives you a little bit more option for your house when moving here. Unfortunately, that is just how it is in Eagle. It's just a lot more expensive. Like I said, it is kind of the Beverly Hills of Boise, where you are going to be spending that $100,000 more for the same size house. You can get that a little bit different. You may only spend $50,000 or $30,000 more, but all of the things that Eagle has to offer is just more expensive. With that price comes a big complaint that a lot of people have, and that's HOAs.
Dang it.
And a lot of these neighborhoods have them, and a lot of them are more expensive than the HOAs that you might find in Boise or Meridian. The reason for that is just because you have those ponds and those waterfront properties that I talked about, so they have to manage the fish that they put in there and all of the ponds and cleaning them and making sure everything is upkept. And then also you do have the pools, which you get in a lot of the neighborhoods in the other cities, but in Eagle, there is a lot nicer pools. Some of these developments are extremely nice as you've seen. So the HOAs can get more, anywhere from $400 a year to even $400 a quarter. So about $1,200 to $1,500 a year. And not too many homes in neighborhoods don't have HOAs. So most of the subdivisions in the valley, if you live in a development, you're gonna have HOAs. It's just the difference with Eagle is that you will be spending a little bit more, and that's a big complaint that I see with moving to Eagle on top of spending more for your house there. Next up in Eagle is the hospital care. So there's no major hospitals in Eagle, but you do have a St. Luke's and a St. Al's, just a smaller hospital. So there is some medical care in Eagle, right near downtown off of State Street and Eagle Road, and then you have one just down State Street a little ways. There's also small clinics in Eagle, but the closest major hospital is going to be either downtown Boise, St. Luke's, or the Meridian St. Luke's right off of I-84 and Eagle Road. And both of those are about 25 to 30 minutes depending on traffic. So if you need access to medical care or you want to retire and that's something that you're worried about, those are going to be where your major hospitals are in Eagle. So you're moving to Middleton, Idaho. You like a small town feel, no HOA or CCNRs, and a variety of home options and a number of other things. And it may just be the place for you. But there are a number of cons, and we're going to just jump right into those. Then I'll get into the housing and all of the reasons you just might want to move. First off, the commutes can just flat out suck. Later, I'll go over the location and some of the different major commutes. But Middleton is way out there, and you're going to be driving 30 to 60 minutes to get into town.
But I'm out of the habit of driving out to the boonies at the drop of a hat.
And even just a 15-minute drive to get into Middleton's store and downtown, depending on where you live in the area. With that comes not having a lot to do. You really have one grocery store, one pharmacy, one restaurant, just one of everything. Not exactly, but you get the point. There isn't the shopping and the concerts and all of the restaurants you would have in other parts of the Treasure Valley. Now, let's get into everything else about Middleton, Idaho and see if they will be a pro or a con for you. With only a population of about 10,000 people, Middleton is going to be the smallest city in the valley. So you get a true small town feel, and when you visit Middleton, you truly feel that.
Just a small town girl.
You have the one grocery store, a few shops and restaurants, and the style of homes and neighborhoods you would expect in a small town. Minus a few new developments that have come to Middleton here recently. We will take a look at those later, but the people that live there will make you feel at home, but they are also going to be small town Republican, and they're going to want to keep it that way. So if you are not that way, it may be a place to stay away from. Next up is a big one and goes along with that small town feel, but Middleton offers a lot of places with no CCNRs or HOAs, which I know for some of you is a big deal. You have the freedom to do what you want with your home and your land and save on the fees that you pay with HOAs. Now, some of the new development homes are going to have HOAs, but for the most part, Middleton's going to offer the most amount of options when it comes to finding property without those rules and regulations. Now, as I mentioned, the commutes from Middleton are rough. Middleton is the farthest northwest corner of the valley, so your commutes from Middleton into Boise will be 40 to 60 minutes depending on traffic and weather. It's going to be about 10 to 15 minutes into Star, and then 20 to 30 into Meridian and the Village and a lot of the things in the central part of the valley. And if you end up buying some land and live in the country, your commutes are going to be an extra 10 to 15 minutes into Middleton itself. So depending on where you decide to live, if you're looking for some land out by the BLM land, it's going to add an extra 10 to 15. Which leads me into housing. There's a few options in Middleton, one being that land opportunity I mentioned. Middleton has the space and the neighborhoods in place to have a ton of options for lands. You can get modest size homes on an acre or more for 600,000 to 800,000, and you can also find 3,000 to 4,000 square foot homes on an acre or more for around $1 million, which if you compare that to places like Eagle, it's much more affordable in Middleton than it is Eagle or Boise. And this is a big part of the appeal of Middleton, is that you can have that land with no CCNRs and you can pay a little bit less than you might in Eagle or Hidden Springs or Boise. Middleton also offers a lot of new construction that I mentioned earlier. in your typical subdivisions, the typical developments with your HOA and your pool and your park in the neighborhood. And as it has grown over the last few years, it has brought a lot of new construction homes. So it's continuing to grow. There's continuing to be more and more new subdivisions built. And especially with its neighbor, Star, which has been one of the fastest growing cities in the valley, that's grown a lot more, and there's a lot more neighborhoods and restaurants and grocery stores in Star. So Middleton's not too far behind, but as of now, it's still the smallest town in the valley, and hopefully it stays that way for a little bit longer. The next big draw is the BLM land right next door and the outdoor opportunity. You have thousands of acres of BLM land right next to town. So if you like to ride dirt bikes, horses, shoot guns, or just get out, it's a great thing to have available. You also have the Boise River that runs right through town to walk the greenbelt, fish, cool off in the summer, and you have plenty of parks for kids throughout the town. Piccadilly Park is a popular one in Middleton with splash pads for the kids, a little skate park, and right by a lot of the new home developments. You also have golf courses. Purple Sage is one of the best golf courses in the valley, and my grandpa used to golf there every single day, and I used to golf out there with him, and it's a beautiful course. It's technically a Caldwell address, but it's in Middleton, and there is some property out there as well. So a really cool option to have Purple Sage out there as well. It's also going to be one of the safest areas in the valley. If you look at any crime rate, it is almost 50 to 60% lower crime rates than the national average. Middleton also has its own school district, which rings true for small town feel because it offers some better attention for your kids with less kids per teacher, and having its own districts gives them a little bit more control, and it's still a very well rated district. There's also plenty of homeschool options and support, which is true for the whole state. Today we're going to go over Nampa, Idaho, one of the top suburbs in the Boise area. It's also one of the fastest growing, and we're going to find out why everybody is moving there. Later on in the video, I'm going to go over some of my personal experiences with Nampa, and we're going to find out some of the commutes, the traffic, the overall feel of Nampa, and we're going to go over the housing and some of the communities so that hopefully you can determine if Nampa is the right place for you to live when relocating to the Boise area. The first thing is where Nampa is located. So one of the biggest complaints that I get and see is that Nampa is a big commute, but Nampa is located west of Boise and Meridian in the Treasure Valley. Nampa to Meridian is about a 10 to 20 minute drive. To Caldwell, a 5 to 10 minute drive. And then when you want to get to the airport from Nampa, it's about a 40 to 60 minute drive. And that's about the same to downtown Boise, depending on the traffic and depending on the weather. It's about a 40 to 60 minute drive into downtown Boise as well. Nampa is surrounded by Meridian, Kuna, Caldwell, and then Star and Middleton, and then Lake Lowell to the west of Nampa. When you talk about just commutes within Nampa itself, the commutes are going to be a little bit longer to some of the restaurants and stores. You're going to be looking at 5, 10, 15 minute drives in to run your errands on the weekends or after work, depending on where you live. And as you'll see later on, there's about 3 centralized areas in Nampa where the bulk of your grocery shopping, your restaurants, and where you'll spend a lot of your free time on the weekends and after work. Now, what is Nampa like? So Nampa is kind of the new Meridian. It's a really fast-growing city in the valley now, and a lot of that has to do with the affordability of the housing in the area. Housing is a lot cheaper than Meridian or Kuna or Eagle, which has brought a lot of new developments. There's a lot of new neighborhoods coming to Nampa. On every single side of it, you have north, west, and east of Nampa. You have a lot of new communities coming in, a lot of new development from this growth. And it's one of the 3 major cities in the Treasure Valley that has a lot of your commercial and residential activity going on. Those are going to be Nampa, Meridian, and of course Boise. So it's starting to become a little bit of a hotspot like how Meridian was 5-10 years ago, where it was one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Nampa is starting to look a little bit like that. Meridian's grown a lot and the affordability has gone down, so a lot of people are moving west. Now, those 3 centralized areas that I talked to you about in Nampa is you're going to be downtown Nampa. There's the Garrity Boulevard exit off of I-84 in Nampa, and then there's the Karcher Boulevard exit. And I'll go into each of these in detail, but when you're talking about downtown Nampa, a lot of downtown is your older style homes, your homes that were built in the 1920s or the 80s, and you're not gonna have subdivisions that are developed with a community pool and an HOA. It's gonna be your first, second, third, your numbered streets gridded out around the downtown area, downtown Nampa itself. There is a lot of restaurants. There's Boise Fry Company, there's Flying M Coffee, there's breweries and places to have lunch, and it is nicer than it used to be, and there is expansions coming with the growth of Nampa that's going to make that even more nice as time goes on. When you move to the Garrity Boulevard exit, this is a lot of new development. There's a lot of new things going on there. Amazon's warehouse just got built. You have a Walmart, there's a Winco there, there's shopping centers. St. Alphonsus has a newer hospital, CWI, which is a community college in the valley. That's where the second place is in Nampa that you're going to be seeing a lot of. And the last place is the Karcher Boulevard exit, which is the busiest area of Nampa by far. And this is because it has your Target, there's a Costco, there's a Hobby Lobby, a Sportsman's Warehouse, your Chick-fil-A, there's a Home Depot, a movie theater. Everything that you could ever need is all right in this Karcher exit, and a lot of people live out in that area, and it gets crammed, especially during rush hour. Now, the overall safety of Nampa is just like the rest of the Treasure Valley. The whole Treasure Valley is extremely safe when you compare it nationwide. But Nampa, the city of Nampa, is one of the least safe cities in the Treasure Valley. Nampa, Caldwell, and Garden City are actually the top three. But when you talk specifically in Nampa, around the downtown area, and especially when you cross over the railroad track on the east side of downtown Nampa, it can get really sketchy down there. There's a lot of crime activity that goes on, a lot of drug activity. There's some safe houses, drug houses, and so that part of town a lot of people stay away from. But again, it's not going to be anything crazy. The safest parts of Nampa are going to be on the outskirts of Nampa around Lake Lowell and the north of the Garrity Boulevard exit that I talked about, where a lot of those new subdivisions are coming in. And then the other part is going to be out towards Cuna. So on the outskirts of Nampa, a lot of those places are going to be nice. And if safety is at the top of your list, those are going to be the areas that you want to focus on. Now, my overall opinion of Nampa is I currently live in Nampa. I've lived there in the past. I've lived in Meridian, and Nampa is definitely a less desirable place to live. But the biggest thing with Nampa that causes problems for people is just the commute. So if you like being in Meridian and Boise, where a lot of things go on, where the village is, where downtown Boise is, where the Boise River is, and a lot of concerts and just things to do, especially in the outdoors, Nampa can be a little bit of a hassle driving in and out that 20 to 30 minute commute. I have friends and family that have worked downtown Boise, and that commute definitely wears on them, and they wish that they could move into Boise, or they're actually looking to move closer to work because it is such a hassle. If you're somebody who works from home or you work in Nampa, that's not going to be a problem. And the overall just feel of Nampa is nice if you get in certain parts of it. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of downtown, and a lot of people have that same feeling. But a lot of the really cool parts of Nampa are out towards Lake Lowell. There's a golf course out there. You're kind of outside of Nampa itself, and you kind of have your own subdivisions. The other part that's really nice in Nampa that's starting to be up and coming is north of I-84, so that Garrity Boulevard exit, and then even the Karcher exit, the north side of I-84. There's lots of new subdivisions coming in out there, and it's a really nice place to live. You're not too far from the interstate, so you can hop on the interstate and get into Meridian or Boise. And then you just need to run into Karcher or the Garrity exit to do some shopping. You don't have to get over the interstate. You can just hop in, grab some groceries at Costco or Walmart or Winco, and you don't have to deal with a ton of the traffic that you may have to deal with if you live on the other side of Nampa in the outskirts out towards Lake Lowell. The other thing with Nampa is it's a lot more industrial, and with industrial, Nampa is known for having a smell. The cheese factory, and then especially the sugar beet factory, it just creates an unpleasant smell, and especially in the afternoons or nights, that smell can blow through the city and it can create just an unpleasant smell. And so that's the overall feel, safety, and kind of the rough overview of what Nampa, Idaho brings. Now let's go into housing. with housing, Nampa is going to be a lot more affordable, as I mentioned, and that's a big reason why a lot of people are moving to the Nampa area. The median household value in Nampa is $375,000. When you compare that to Boise or Meridian or Kuna, that's about $40,000 to even $80,000 less than some of those cities. So you're getting a lot more home for the same price. So that's one of the biggest benefits with housing in Nampa, is that you just get a lot more house for the amount that you're spending compared to the other cities. And as what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up some videos of some of the communities that I talked about earlier in that Garrity Boulevard exit area north of I-84, and then out towards Lake Lowell, and then seeing some of the downtown Nampa homes. So you kind of have some visuals on the difference between those locations, and you can see what you can get in Nampa and what these communities are and what the houses look like. The other thing with homes in Nampa is there is some opportunity for land, and that's going to be centralized around Lake Lowell again. There is land opportunity for your custom builds or homes that are already on the market with a lot more land. If land is what you want, if you want some acreage, if you have horses, if you just want to be out of town and you want land to roam and kind of spend time on, that's also going to be offered in Nampa, and it's a little bit easier to get than especially Meridian, Eagle, and Boise. Now, the school system in Nampa, if you have kids, is not going to be nearly as good as Meridian or Boise, which is West Ada and Boise School District. Nampa has its own school district, and as you will see, the rankings in elementary, middle, and high school are all going to be a little bit lower than Meridian or Boise and even statewide. So that can be a big con in Nampa, is if you have kids and you want them to go to a better school, the affordability might not be worth the schooling for your kids. But there is some other options. So there is charter schools and private schools in Meridian and Boise, and especially if you work in the Meridian or the Boise area and you are willing to commute and just drop your kids off on the way to work, you can have your kids go to school outside of Nampa itself and have access to those charter schools and those private schools in Meridian and Boise. That way you can get the affordability of Nampa, but you don't have to worry about your kids in the school districts in Nampa. Kuna, Idaho is one of the top suburbs in Boise, Idaho, and it's gained a lot of popularity over the last couple of years. But is it the right place to live when relocating to Boise? It's going to depend on you, and in this video we're going to find out if Kuna, Idaho fits your lifestyle, fits your needs, and it should be on the top of your list for places to live. First of all, Kuna, K-U-N-A, is pronounced Kuna, not Kuna. And the location of Kuna is south of the Treasure Valley, so south of Meridian. It's about a 30 to 35 minute drive to Boise. It's going to be about a 30-minute drive to the airport, 20 minutes to Meridian, and then about 20 to 25 minutes to the Nampa area. Kuna has its own stores and own things within the city, which we'll go over later. But the location of Kuna is great if you like that smaller town feel outside of the big city, with its own amenities for the things that you need, like running errands, while still having access to Boise and Meridian. That's only about 20 to 30 minutes away, which makes Kuna a really desirable location. Now, Kuna, Idaho is one of the lowest populated cities in the valley at about 30,000 people, but it's also growing at one of the fastest rates at about 9% growth per year. So a lot of people are moving there, and when you talk to people in the Boise area or people relocating here, a lot of people want to live in Kuna. It has that more small town feel. You're going to have farmland, you're going to have crops and cows, and a lot of space to breathe around Kuna and the commute to Kuna. But in the town itself, you have quite a few things to do. There's new developments, new houses, you still have the subdivisions. Now, there's not a ton to do in Kuna. It's not going to be like Meridian or Boise, where you have the village, you have these huge shopping centers, you have Topgolf for the water park or the Boise River Greenbelt, but it still has your local stores. It has Ridley's, your Albertsons. There's still restaurants in Kuna. And it does have Indian Creek, which runs through it. So there's a park and there's walking centers along Indian Creek. Enrique's, which is a popular Mexican restaurant, is also downtown Kuna. So you still have those amenities, 5 to 10 minutes away if you live in Kuna, if you want to do those things on the weekend. And again, if you want to go into Meridian or Boise, it's only a 20 or 30 minute drive. There's also a golf course out in Kuna, Falcon Crest, which has a really nice new development called Trilogy of Valor. And there's a lot of nice new homes going into there. And especially with Falcon Crest moving to what looks like maybe a private club, there's a lot more development going in around that area. Facebook or Meta is also putting about $800 million into the Kuna area. They're building a big data center out there, which could mean a lot of growth for Kuna and some investment opportunity if you're moving to the area. The other nice thing about Meta putting that data center out there is that it's actually may lower some of your taxes on your property in Kuna, because the commercial tax burden hasn't been much in Kuna because there's just not a ton of commercial property. There's not the businesses and the restaurants like there is in Meridian and Boise. So as Meta builds that big data center, it's actually going to lower some of the tax burden on the residents, and it may lower your property taxes for your residential housing, which is a little bit of a plus on top of the investment opportunity and a lot of those new jobs and new infrastructure that comes in. Meta's also investing about $50 million into the sewer and water into Kuna. So a lot of potential there for the Kuna area if you're moving there. The outdoors in Kuna is also an opportunity. You're not too far from a lot of BLM land. You're not too far from the Snake River, just south, which offers a lot of fishing opportunities, swimming, kayaking. You can get out in the outdoors. It may not be like the foothills or the mountains that Boise and Eagle has, but it does have that chance for you to get outside, go for hikes, spend some time on the river. Kuna also has Kuna Days every year where there's parades, there's restaurants, there's vendors, and there is events in Kuna, and it's more of that small town community feel. A lot of the people in community are going to be your awesome small town, welcoming people, and a lot of people like that. If that's something that you enjoy, Kuna is definitely a place that you want to live. Now, the housing in Kuna. So it used to be on the much more affordable end. That has kind of moved as it's grown, but the typical home value in Kuna is going to be about $420,000. And there's a lot of new build spec homes coming out there. A lot of new subdivisions have been developed around downtown and on Meridian Road as you come out to Kuna. There's a lot of subdivisions being developed, and it's growing faster and faster. As I mentioned, that population is increasing quite a bit. With that, Kuna has a lot of options. There's more land options in Kuna, so there is homes on an acre plus in and around Kuna, which if you are looking for land at a more affordable price, Kuna is a really good option. You can get in homes on an acre for $600,000, $600,000 to $1 million with a nice, livable, awesome home. Whereas if you look in like Eagle or Meridian or Star, those are going to be $1 million plus, pretty much guaranteed. You may find some for $800,000. So if you do want some land, Kuna is also another awesome option. But it still has those smaller homes, your 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom houses with those new developments that I mentioned, and then even some of the older homes around the downtown Kuna area that may have been renovated. You do have those options as well. So you have a wide range of options in the Kuna area. The community I mentioned on the golf course, that's a really awesome option. And there's some new builds coming in there that have a lot of investment opportunity as well. So overall, some awesome communities in Kuna and a lot of options when it comes to housing, especially that land opportunity. When it comes to safety in schools, Kuna is going to be safe. There is a little bit less safety than maybe Meridian, but overall one of the safest cities in the valley. And with that small town feel, you're gonna feel safe in Kuna. It's an awesome place to live. When it comes to schooling, that's one of the downsides of Kuna is, as you will see, some of the school systems in the Kuna school district are a little bit lower rated. So Kuna schooling is about a 3 out of 10 for test taking and a 28% math efficiency. And for reference, Idaho as a whole is a 40% math efficiency, and there's other statistics that are about the same ratio, but just to give you a little bit of an overview, that's kind of how the schooling is in Kuna. But as always, you can call teachers in schools and kind of find out more, but the overall rating in Kuna is the schooling is a little bit less. But if you do commute and you work in the Meridian area or you work in the Boise area and you have kids and maybe you don't feel quite as comfortable with the Kuna schooling, there are public charter schools and private schools in Meridian and Boise that do offer some options there, as you can just drive and drop them off on the way to school. So there's some options if that is a concern for you, but overall the schooling in Kuna is a little bit lower than Meridian or Boise or Eagle. Living in Meridian, Idaho. Is it the best suburb in Boise? Let's take a look at Meridian and see if during your relocating journey, it is the best fit for you like a lot of other people, or if it just doesn't fit your lifestyle. First thing is we have to figure out where Meridian's at. So Meridian is the center of the Treasure Valley. It's below Eagle, it's just next to Boise, it's just next to Kuna, it's just next to Nampa, it's not too far from Star or Middleton. The Meridian area is the heart of the Treasure Valley, and that is where a lot of things happen. Meridian to downtown is anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on what side you live. It's about a 10 to 20 minute drive to Nampa. It's about a 15 to 10 minute drive to Eagle, depending on what part you live on. And then it's about a 15 to 30 minute drive into Kuna, again, depending on what part of Meridian you live in. Just so that you have a good overview, you have Eagle Road, you have I-84, and you have Chinden, and you have 10 Mile. These are 4 of the major roads in Meridian that you're gonna want to know and have reference to, because a lot of the things that happen in Meridian are gonna be on these 4 streets and where a lot of people reference it to when you're living in and locating in Meridian. My name's Brady Fagel. I am a local realtor in the Boise area, and I love helping people relocate to the Treasure Valley. I post 2 videos every week, so if you haven't, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on the Treasure Valley and relocating to Boise. If you have any questions, my number is up on the screen. You can shoot me a text or a call anytime, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Or if you prefer, there's a link in the description to book a call with me, and I'll give you a call at your earliest convenience. But let's get back into the video. Now with that, Meridian, the overall feel of Meridian is really nice. I love Meridian. If I had a choice, it would be Meridian or Eagle or Kuna that I would want to live in, and that is what a lot of other people think. That's why there has been so much growth in Meridian, is there is a lot to do. People love living there. It's extremely safe and it's central to the valley. So when you commute places or you need to go anywhere, you're not too far from every city in the valley, and you're not too far from shooting up north if you want to go up into the mountains, or if you want to go south. You kind of have everything at your disposal in Meridian. Now, like I said, Meridian, there's going to be a lot to do. And one of those is the Village, which is off of Eagle Road. And this is a really popular destination. It's an outdoor mall. There's restaurants there. There's Kona Grill, an awesome pizza place, Grimaldi's. There's Matador, which is an awesome Mexican restaurant in the Village. And then there's a lot of shopping. There's an ice rink, a movie theater. So you can do a lot in the Village and spend time there on the weekends and with family. You can get a bite to eat, go for a walk. There's Kleiner Park right next to the Village. And then around the Village and all up and down Eagle, you have all of your grocery stores. There's tons of restaurants. There's lots of shopping centers. You have places like Chick-fil-A. You have In-N-Out, Costa Vida. There's everything you could ever want, all on Eagle Road. The other thing with Meridian is up along Chinden Road and 10 Mile, you have a nice shopping center there. So you have a Fred Meyer, there's Winco, there's more restaurants and bars. and then you have Costco, Walmart, and then on Linder and Ustick you have more places to eat, and there's a lot to do there as well. And then the central part of Meridian around downtown, and then all through the heart of Meridian there's grocery stores and shopping centers and restaurants scattered throughout. Meridian also has a Top Golf, there's a water park, Wahoo's, which is an arcade, laser tag, mini golf course, go-karts, so there's a lot to do there as well. And then you have the Majestic Cinema area where there's a movie theater and then some more restaurants, Biscuit and Hogs, which has some really large portion side breakfast food and lunch and dinner, which is a really popular place. So as you can see, Meridian has a ton to do, and no matter where you live in Meridian, there's something right next to your subdivision that you have to go eat. You have a grocery store not too far by, and it makes it nice because you don't have far commutes if you just need to run errands. Those grocery stores are Fred Meyer, Winco, Costco, and of course Walmart and Albertsons, and there's at least 2 locations of all of those in Meridian, and they're scattered out pretty evenly throughout the city. So like I said, if you live anywhere in Meridian, your commutes to the grocery store are not going to be far, and then usually around those grocery stores there's restaurants and little shopping centers, which makes it nice and convenient. The other nice thing about Meridian is that you do have a lot of parks. So like I said, Kleiner Park at the Village is an awesome park. You have Settlers Park, there's Fuller's Park, and then all of the subdivisions in Meridian are nice new developments, or they're a little bit mature neighborhoods, and those all mostly have parks. They have neighborhood pools, and a lot of them have walking trails and places that even just within your subdivision itself, it's an awesome thing is that you can just go for a walk. Your kids can go to the pool or the park within your neighborhood itself, and that's a really desirable thing in Meridian, is the subdivisions are just awesome with beautiful landscaping and an overall just kind of community feel when you live in those subdivisions. Which brings me to housing. So housing in Meridian is not going to be the most expensive, but it's not going to be the most affordable. You have a lot of high-end houses, you have a lot of first-time home buyer houses, and you have a wide range of options when living in Meridian. The north side of Meridian has a lot of options for higher-end homes, luxury homes, homes on some more land, places like Banbury or Castleberry, and that's going to be along Shinden Road. In the heart of Meridian, you have a mix of everything. So you have older homes in the mid-2000 range that are going to be your typical 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses for around that $380,000 to $400,000 mark. They're not going to be quite as nice, but more affordable, but they're still in established neighborhoods. Then you have places like Paramount or Saguaro Canyon or Bridge Tower, and those are going to be a little bit more expensive homes, but they are nice. They're a little bit higher end, maybe your 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom houses. You may have a little bit more room, more backyard, a little bit more space in between houses. And then you also have places like the Oaks North. Those are going to be your newer developments with a little bit newer builds. And then your South Meridian area is going to be the same, but in South Meridian, you're going to have not as many mature neighborhoods because it is a lot newer construction homes, newer subdivisions. And those are going to be anywhere from your $400,000 range all the way up into your $1 million range. You have places like the Keep that has really high-end luxury homes. But you have a lot of options in Meridian, which makes it nice. If South Meridian doesn't fit your lifestyle, there's most likely going to be something in North Meridian, along Shinden or along Eagle that's going to fit your lifestyle or your home needs, which overall is just great. Anytime a city has plenty of options, it makes it a little bit easier. You know Meridian's a nice place to live, you know it's safe, and you know that because it has a lot of options, there's most likely going to be a home that fits your family and everything that you want in a home and a place to live. When it comes to schooling and safety of Meridian, As I said, Meridian's going to be one of the safest places in the Treasure Valley, other than maybe Eagle. Eagle may be a little bit safer, but everywhere in Meridian is pretty much going to feel safe. You're going to feel like you can go for a walk. You're going to feel like you can be out at night and you're not going to have to worry. Most of the subdivisions are going to feel extremely safe, and the ratings show that it is one of the safest cities in the Treasure Valley. When it comes to schooling in Meridian, that's another big plus, is that some of the top rated schools in the elementary, middle, and high school levels, as you'll see, are some of the top in the state. And not just the public schools, but there's charter schools and private school options in Meridian that offer some of the top education in the entire state. You have places like Compass Public Charter School, you have Renaissance High School, and then you have Christian schools like Ambrose or Coal Valley. So you know that you have a lot of options for that higher end education in the area. Now, overall, Meridian is definitely one of the top places to live in the Boise area, and most likely if you're relocating here, Meridian is a place that a lot of people end up. It has about everything you need. There's fun things to do, you know, Topgolf, the Village, all of the restaurants, the water park, there's tons of parks, and it's a really safe place to live. There's lots of nice people in Meridian. I love living there. When I lived there, and a lot of people I know, that's where a lot of people want to live. Even if you're not relocating here, Meridian's one of the top places to live in the valley. As a Boise local, there may be some bias in my opinions of Boise, but I have seen the changes here and the trajectory Boise is heading. So I know the ins and outs, giving me a unique perspective on the pros and cons of living here. I'm going to give you my honest opinion of what it is like to live here, talking about all the things that are without a doubt pros, without a doubt cons, and then the things that are kind of a pro but could be a con with moving to and living in. Let's start off with a hot topic that is one of those that can be a positive or a negative. Politics. I'm sure there is some fraction of your reason for moving here that has to do with the political environment where you are now and what draws you to Idaho. Boise is Republican, Idaho is a Republican. When you live here, you know and feel that. There is a slower paced sense of freedom and peace. The people here like it that way, and oftentimes you will get talked to about it if you end up moving here. I just moved to Kuna, and me and my wife were walking the creek here in Kuna, and a lady politely stopped us and started conversation, which eventually led to her asking us if we were Republican. She didn't ask it in a rude or inappropriate way, but she genuinely wanted to see. This is a more common occurrence, and if you are what most people I work with refer to themselves as a political refugee,
he's seeking political asylum, says he's in fear for his life,
then you will fit right in here, and it will be a breath of fresh air to have all of the benefits that can come with living in a conservative, free political environment like Boise. Part of that conversation we had with that lady was her asking us if we carried guns. She was probably in her 60s and made it clear to us that she carried a gun, and a lot of people in Idaho do. The people here love their guns. They like to have them for protection and hunting, or just to go shoot for fun. So don't be surprised when you get here and you see them on people's hips every so often in the grocery store, or in my case, have a nice old lady stop you on your evening walk to ask if you love guns too. If you are flying into Boise, one of the things you will notice is how simple and quiet the airport is. Instead of getting into an airport like LAX or DIA 3 hours early, oftentimes you can get to the Boise airport an hour early and be perfectly fine. The con with that is that we don't have as many direct flights, but Boise is growing and adding new direct flights pretty frequently. That growth of Boise has definitely brought a lot of change. First, I just talked about the benefits that the politics and the growth have brought, but at the end, I will take you through everything that you would want to watch out for and all of the major cons of living here. For now, Boise has grown from about 450,000 people in 2010 to closing in on 1 million in 2024. For reference, from 1980 to 2010, Boise grew from 200,000 to 450. So it has grown fast in the last few years. And living here my whole life, it is honestly a little hard to believe sometimes just how fast it has grown. I would come home from college in Wyoming, and in 3 months they had built full square blocks of the city with restaurants and apartments, and that continues to happen today. Bringing with it a ton of new things to do though, and amazing amenities and communities. We have more restaurants, more shopping centers like the Village in Meridian, and places like Topgolf, Roaring Springs, our water park, Wahoo's, which is a big arcade, and many more options for grocery shopping or just having an evening out with a family. It also brought amazing housing opportunities, so you have plenty of new communities to choose from. Places like the Oaks in Meridian, a wonderful neighborhood I talk about all of the time, Legacy and Homestead in Eagle, and many, many more. All of these at much more affordable price for most of you. If you are coming from LA, Seattle, or really anywhere in California, you will be paying significantly less for homes here in the Boise area. Leave a comment below if you are watching from some of those places. I'd love to comment back and say hi and see where you are coming from, which if you are coming from those areas or anywhere in the country, me and my team specialize in helping you in your relocation journey. We get calls and texts all the time, and our goal is to make it a comfortable process where you feel prepared and excited to get here. But we also want it to be the right decision because Boise isn't always for everyone, and we're still happy to help you in that process as well. So shoot me a text or a call anytime. I look forward to hearing from you. But let's get into some of the pros quick, and then we'll go over all of those reasons Boise may just not be right for everyone. The people here are the best. I think living here for a long time, I have gotten used to people waving and saying hi, having friendly conversations with random people on a pretty frequent basis. It isn't until I speak with people from other parts of the country and they tell me how different that is here, which I couldn't imagine living in a place where there was not kindness and community where I lived. What comes with that in Boise as well is the safety. Yes, there's crime and problems just like anywhere you live, which I talk about in a video on the top 5 worst places in Boise here, but you truly feel safe here. You can walk to your car at night. I will accidentally leave a door unlocked or my garage door open, and I'm not worried at all in most parts of the valley. You can walk the green belt and not be scared, but happy to see all of the people, loving that time out in the outdoors, which I am sure is something that has drawn you to Boise. Boise has a ton of those outdoor activities in the city itself, like the green belt I just talked about that runs from Boise all the way into Middleton and Caldwell, giving you access to it almost anywhere you live here in the valley. You could ride your bike, go for a walk, float the river, cool off in the summers, and again meet and see tons of people walking and spending time on the green belt on a nice day here in the valley. There are also all of the hiking and mountain biking trails, and then of course the beauty of Idaho. I have a video on some of the best weekend getaways here where I talk about the places like Stanley, Idaho or Shoshone Falls, because Idaho really does have beauty you just can't find in other parts of the country. Now, the Greenbelt and these outdoor activities are best to do in the fall and spring, which are a big positive of Boise. Our weather during that time is amazing. We get cherry blossom trees in the spring and 70 to 80 degree days almost every day. And then the fall is my all-time favorite because you do not have the thunderstorms and the freezing mornings you can get in the spring. It's about 80 degrees for 2 months from about late August, September into October, where you can eat outside at the restaurants, go for walks on the Greenbelt or in the walking paths that 90% of all of the subdivisions in the valley have. Boise also in a unique position on the time zone where we're about 30 minutes away from the Pacific time zone. So it's an hour earlier in Oregon right next door. The pro of that is that in the summers and winters, our sunsets is an hour later than most of the places around us. So it doesn't get dark here until 10 p.m. in the summertime, which I love. Now, if you have kids or like to get to bed at 8 a.m., this might be a little rough for you, and it may be a con, but overall it is nice to be able to spend time outside so late in the day. And then in the winters, it makes it a little bit more tolerable. The last few pros I will make quick, and then I will get right into everything you will want to watch out for and decide if you can handle when moving here, is Boise's economy is great. We are above average in poverty levels and unemployment, and it is only improving with all of the growth we have seen. There is plenty of jobs here in different fields. Boise is starting to become a hot spot for business because of the political environment and the growth that we've seen. The cost of living here is great as well. In most categories, Boise is more affordable than most of the national average, especially when it comes to taxes and utilities. Your utility bills here are some of the cheapest in the entire country, and a lot of that has to do with having one single power company, which is Idaho Power, and all of the natural resources that Idaho provides. But let's get into what a lot of you are here for, the cons. Though winter can be rough for some people, you might love the snow and the cold, or you might think you do, but I have seen it over and over again. People think they can handle it here or it will be fine, and then after a year or two, it just is too much. Now, we don't get crazy winters. I would say on average, there are 5 to 7 days a year where you have to shovel your driveway and worry about the roads and your commutes, or school gets canceled. So it isn't bad when it comes to the snow. The hardest part for me and other people is when we get inversions. This year in particular, we had them pretty bad. And essentially what happens is the clouds get stuck up in the valley and you don't truly see the sun for days or weeks. This year, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks of cloudy, dark days in a row. And when you combine that with the short days and it getting dark at 4:30 p.m., it can be a little depressing and tough for people. I talked about the politics and guns being a positive, but for some of you, it can be a negative depending on who you are. So I will cover both bases. If you are conservative, the city of Boise itself has gone a lot more liberal. That's due to the growth and people moving here and BSU being in Boise. It's in the school system more. You will see pride flags and Democratic rallies more often in the city of Boise. On the other side of this, Middleton, Star, and Kuna are on the more conservative side. You will see more Trump flags, more American flags, and conservative morals in the community and the school systems in those suburbs. Now, you do with that information what you will, depending on who you are is what's going to determine whether that is a con on either side of that line. I mentioned that growth was a reason, which has brought a lot of cons as well as the pros that I talked about at the beginning. And in some instances, cons for those of you moving from California specifically. First of all, it has overwhelmed the infrastructure here. There is always construction and road closures that clog up the streets, making it more crowded than it needs to be. And then for you people from California, there are some Idahoans that don't like the growth. And when you move here, there may be people who don't make you feel at home and tell you to get out of here. I'm sure in this video or a number of other videos, if you watch those, you'll see people in the comments trying to convince people not to move here or saying rude things. You will also see the stickers telling Californians to get out of Idaho. At the end of the day, some people don't like growth and change, and no matter what or who moves here, they won't be happy. But the biggest reason that is warranted is people don't want Californians bringing California to Idaho. Idaho is a great place to live for a reason, and people leave California for many reasons. So the people here don't want voting and beliefs to take away what makes Idaho and Boise a great place to live. But what can come with that is some feelings of not being welcome here. So just be prepared for that. If you are a Californian or you're just moving from Oregon or Washington or some other parts of the country, you may find some people who are not welcoming here. Next is the nightlife. Yes, Boise has a lot to do, especially with the outdoors. but when it comes to the nightlife, there's a lack of it. So if you're looking for a nightlife like LA, Dallas, or Portland, or Seattle, you won't find that here. There is a stretch of bars and clubs downtown, but not a ton, and oftentimes your weekends will be filled with the students from BSU. Next is if you are moving here and you work at home, or you just need great Wi-Fi, you really want to watch those Netflix shows and not have anything lag. Parts of the valley have horrible Wi-Fi for people who need fast speeds. I live in Kuna right now, and the Wi-Fi is less than ideal. It is a little bit slower. It's nothing that if you don't work from home, it won't be a problem. But the worst spots are going to be in Star and Middleton, and really any place where you buy a home on land. So be aware of that. Now, if you don't want land, you will most likely have to deal with the HOAs, which for some of you can be a problem. Now with this, I always say not to worry too much about it. Yes, there is HOAs in the subdivisions and in most areas of the valley, but in a lot of these neighborhoods, it is never enforced, and the rules are nothing that is going to majorly impact you. If you live in some of the more upscale communities, like a Legacy with a golf course and lakefront properties in Eagle or Two Rivers, it will be more apparent, but if you want that kind of home, I doubt you're concerned with the HOAs, because to live in a beautiful community like that, the HOA is exactly what is providing that community in the first place. And the housing in Boise has turned into a little bit of a con because of that growth. Homes here have gotten more expensive than they used to be.